All right, you know what I'm saying? So, boom! Roman Reigns. This is a video I've been wanting to do here for quite some time. The evisceration of Roman Reigns. Now, I know I can't be the only person thinking this. What happened to the guy? What happened? I mean, just a year or two ago, Roman Reigns was on top of the world, and now he is practically at the same level as, like, I don't know, Solo Sokoa. He's practically at the same level as Jey Uso, if not beneath him at this point. I mean, what on earth has happened? Tell me, what has happened to this guy? The longest reigning champion that we've seen in like what, 30 years? And now he can't even beat Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. And I like Braun Breaker, but let's call it like it is. Roman Reigns at this point should be at the Brock Lesnar, John Cena. He's not as big as Austin or The Rock, but they should present him as big as Austin or The Rock. That's what he means to this era. And look, I'm gonna tell you up front, I'm not the hugest Roman Reigns fan. Okay, I don't have anything against the guy. He meets most of the criteria I feel like that it takes to be a top star. Now, would he be a big star 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago? I mean, I guess 10 years ago he was getting pushed. But, back when there was, some legitimate star power in this business, Roman Reigns would be he'd be like a test. There's nothing wrong with test, but at the same time, there's not a whole lot more that Roman Reigns has that like Test doesn't have. They're both tall, in shape, good looking dudes. You could say, maybe Roman Reigns is more charismatic. I mean, yeah, yeah, but let's be real. Roman would be he'd be like a Mark Jindrak, He'd be one of those type of guys. He'd be like a Sean O'Hare. He'd be like a Chuck Palumbo. These are big, hoss looking, good looking dudes. A lot of them very athletic, but a lot of them also amounted to nothing. Roman Reigns benefited from the right push um, during a time when the drawing power, the star power was just generally low. So I mean, he got the benefit of that. He got the benefit of that, and I don't fault Roman Reigns for that. The entire time he was getting his first push, um, from 2015 to about 2020 when before he turned heel, like yeah, the push wasn't great. The way that they were using him in a lot of these spots wasn't great. But I never had anything against the guy, like personally, and I don't think most other people did either. But it's just like, hey, you get a job, your boss tells you to do this, you do just that. He didn't do anything wrong in the sense that like he might have not been ready for the spot in our eyes, but the guy himself didn't do anything wrong for trying his best. I don't fault him for that. But you know, let's also call it like it is. They wasted really the prime years of Roman Reigns' career. Like when he was in his late 20s and into his early 30s, which is really like kind of that wrestling prime. Because now it's like he's not old, but now it's like his run is kind of over. Like he's the majority of his career is behind him now. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way that I see it. And it's kind of a shame to think that those first few years when he really could have benefited from some just good booking, good storylines, like he wasn't really getting that. And I'm not turning into a huge Roman Reigns sympathizer here, but I do feel like the guy got the short end of the stick. Like as far as top guys go, compared to John Cena when he came up, what he was able to say, what he was able to get away with, and we're not even talking Attitude Era. We're not even talking Austin and Rock, or and like Hogan is on another level. I mean, Austin and Rock obviously are on another level too, but Roman Reigns is just not. He's just not of that caliber of talent. Again, maybe you could say for the modern era, but I beg to differ. I'll put it to you like that. So Roman gets his first push. I mean, this dude headlines like Jesus Christ. He's headlined like what, 8 or 9 WrestleManias. He's headlined more than Hogan. He's headlined more than Cena. I mean, come on. But again, Hogan, he wasn't around, in the WWF originally nearly as long as Roman Reigns has been. Well, yeah, yeah, give or take. But my point is that this dude Roman, he's been given a lot. He's been given a lot. And it's kind of sad to think that things really didn't click for him until like several years down the line after they had already, pretty much doomed him with shitty booking for like the first half of his career. It's like he had the Shield run. The Shield, I feel like most people can admit that's a pretty solid group. Not one of the greatest factions of all time or some just preposterous, you know, shit like that. But still a good group, still a solid group, if you ask me. They had some great matches. I enjoyed the Shield. I'm not gonna say I didn't. I enjoyed the Shield. So you pretty much had Roman in the Shield, and then afterwards you had his, I guess, like his push to the title, like several times across several WrestleManias. I mean, Jesus Christ, he and Brock Lesnar headline like three WrestleManias. Not even Rock and Austin actually headlined three WrestleManias. The last match they had was in the middle of the card. So this dude Roman, he comes back during the pandemic, and this is another thing I want to bring up too. How much of a missed opportunity is it that this dude Roman Reigns, he turns heel when there's nobody there? There's literally no one there. There were people for that entire 5 years fantasy booking Roman Reigns heel turn, Roman Reigns heel turn. When are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? What's it going to look like? The dude finally has his heel turn. He finally does what the fans have been wanting him to do for years. And then, it happens during COVID. It happens when there's nobody there. That would have been like I don't want to say an all-time moment, but that would have been like a very memorable moment in history to actually have Roman Reigns turn heel in front of people, you know? So that is what it is. The bloodline kicks off. And again, I want to go into the bloodline here for a little bit because I fuck with the bloodline. The way it was from like 2021 until like basically until the title reign ended, right? His whole title reign. Um, Again, I'm not gonna sit here and be one of these Roman Reigns glazers, as some people would say, but I can enjoy some decent TV. It's not the best of all time. You have to take things that I'm saying and understand that we're grading on a curve here. Okay. Again, we're not talking Hogan. We're not talking Savage. We're not talking Austin and Rock and Kane and all these guys. We're talking Roman Reigns within the context of, his opponents are guys like Seth Rollins and Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. And no offense to these guys, but I mean, come on. Come on. For a guy like Roman Reigns, it's not too hard to stand out amongst the pack when these are the guys that you're surrounded with. We're not talking about exactly a bunch of alpha males, a bunch of alpha entertainers. These are guys you can probably find at your local goddamn deli or whatever. But so Roman, he sticks out amongst the crowd in a way that, like, pretty much nobody else on the roster can touch him. I mean, you can look at several other points in history and say that there were at least, maybe a handful of guys or maybe a few guys at the top who you could see being champion or winning the title like at any given point in time. But Roman during his title reign, you knew that there was no chance this guy was going to lose at like a fucking backlash or a fucking you knew he wasn't gonna lose at like a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You just knew that wasn't in the cards. Not for this title reign. You knew it was gonna be at like a WrestleMania. And I kind of started to get a little interest myself. It's like, you think it's gonna end. Everyone thought, his title reign started in the summer. People thought, oh, he's just gonna hold it till WrestleMania. It's like, no, he retained it at WrestleMania. What was it 30? It was I know it was like 37 or whatever it was, but he had retained the title at WrestleMania in 2021. Did the same thing in 2022. Did the same thing in 2023. He actually surprised a lot of people when he beat Cody. Some of you fuckers actually got surprised. Us smart ones, we saw it coming. Or I wouldn't even say I saw it coming, but I kind of felt in the back of my mind that there was a very good possibility. And lo and behold, that extra year we got out of Roman's title reign. Think about how lucky we were in hindsight. A lot of people thought this was going to be shite, but look at Cody's title reign. That's the one that's been shite. So since then, um, they had the opportunity here to then potentially create one of the biggest, most monumentally gigantic returns of all time. Roman comes back at SummerSlam last year. I mean, usually once like a title reign is over, or once like a heel reign is over or whatever, Like it may take some time for the fans to kind of come back to, the idea of that person turning baby. But it was like with Roman, it was instant. It was like he loses the title one night, the next night on Raw, they're chanting "Thank you, Roman." It's like, bro, he just lost the title the night before. He's not done. He's not retired. I mean, maybe they were chanting "Thank you, Roman." Maybe they were chanting "We want Roman. We miss Roman." Like, where was the energy you had literally a day or two before that when you were saying you want this guy to lose the title and then take a long break? And then, not but 24 hours later, heck, even the same night, people, oh, thank you, Roman. We want you. It's like, come on. It's like, come on. But, Roman comes back. It starts off strong. It starts off strong. Like I tell you, go back and watch Roman Reigns' return at last year's SummerSlam and just look at that reaction. Even when the guy still comes back today, look at that reaction. I mean, he gets treated terribly, but yet comes back and gets these huge pops. He's lucky that Triple H doesn't get his hands on him more because Triple H would use and abuse that guy. And see, that's another thing I wanted to make a point of also. Roman Reigns, like, I don't know what the guy did to Triple H, but you know, this guy, Triple H has to have something against Roman. I just think Triple H has this thing against like actually good looking, decent looking wrestlers who might have a chance. I don't know why he tries to convince us that people like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and goddamn all these jabronis. I don't know why he tries to convince us of their excellence when we can clearly look with our own eyes and see that we're not seeing anything but some garbage and some garbage. So we need more Roman Reigns. We need more Drew McIntyres. We need more. I mean, try to find yourself like another Brock Lesnar, even like a Randy Orton. You can find another Randy Orton. You can find a guy of that size and who's also got kind of like Randy Orton's obviously a very good looking dude. Like there are people like that still exist. You know, it's like people have just kind of accepted the fact that the common wrestler now is smaller and I don't know if it's that I don't know if it's that Triple H is like intimidated somewhat by people like Roman Reigns or by Bobby Lashley, like these alpha male types. Like I don't know, maybe it makes Triple H feel more like a man when he's surrounded by people like Johnny Gargano and people like I don't know, Pete Dunne and Finn Balor and all these guys. And again, I don't have anything against these guys personally. I'm talking within the context of the television and what we're talking about. But and for some reason, it was like after Roman lost that title, things just completely fell off a cliff. So tell me how the guy he's champion for what 3 years or whatever it is, and he loses the title, and there's no rematch. He doesn't even, and that's the thing too. They make Roman Reigns look like such a bitch. They make him look like such a bitch because he doesn't even come out there and have the balls to demand a title match. He could go to Adam Pearce or Nick Aldis. What happened to Roman Reigns when he was running the show and he was telling Nick Aldis what the fuck was going to happen? Now he doesn't even have the balls to come out there and say, you know what? I'm getting a title match. I'm not even asking for it. I'm gonna get a title match. As a matter of fact, it's gonna happen when I want it to be. You know what happened to that Roman Reigns? You know what I'm saying? What happened to God mode? This dude comes back and he gets his ass kicked by everybody. He gets his ass whooped by everyone. He gets his ass whooped by Solo, by Jacob Fatu, by people like fucking Tamatanga, Tangaloa. Of course, not one on one. Of course, these guys have to jump him. But still, it's like, dude, you're Roman Reigns. You've beaten Brock Lesnar, you've beaten John Cena, you've beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania for crying out loud. And you mean to tell me now you're having trouble beating um fucking Solo Sokoa or Jacob Fatu or even just at this previous SummerSlam? What was that all about as well? He was in the opening match. He was in a tag match with Jay Uso versus like Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I mean, what? I'm not understanding. But that's how they've chosen to use this guy. And again, it's not like he's over the hill. It's not like he's out of his prime, so to speak. He's basically still the same guy he was a couple years ago when he was just champion. Nothing's changed about him. So if you ask me, I feel like they're just not getting as much as they could while they still have this. Like it feels like he's on his way out, does it not? It almost feels like Roman Reigns is done. Like I said, this guy was just at the top of his game a year or two ago. He was in God mode, son. And now it's like, I don't know. Every time I see him, he's on his fucking back. He's looking up at the lights. I mean, he just got his fucking shoes taken by Bronson Reed twice, twice. You might as well cut his nuts off as well. You might as well walk in his house and fuck his wife. You know, he just took his sneakers on live TV. That's embarrassing. That's fucking embarrassing. And he doesn't show up at Bronson Reed's house and beat the fuck out of him in front of his kids after that. I mean, come on. Come on. This isn't the same guy. This isn't the same guy that was calling the shots. He was emasculating his own cousins, every single week. If they didn't follow his every beck and call. This is the same guy who didn't give a fuck, showed no fear in the face of John Cena, in the face of Brock Lesnar, in the face of Goldberg. And now it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Um, it feels almost as if he could be gone tomorrow and what would really change. It feels like he's appeared less somehow in the past year or two than he did even when he was champion. And at this point, I am losing interest in Roman. Well, already begun to lost interest in the guy, but now it's like, how can he possibly bounce back at this point? I mean, of course he can still bounce back. He's Roman Reigns. He's never a guy that'll, ever. He's not ever going to completely be out of title contention. But the fact that he hasn't had a title match since he lost the belt, not at this past WrestleMania, but the WrestleMania before that, and the guy still hasn't had a rematch. I feel like he just comes out looking like an idiot. He just comes out looking like an idiot. He didn't even try to get his title back. If there were Triple H, if he lost the belt at WrestleMania, he wouldn't even take a week off. You might see him the next night and he's like, you know what? I lost. You beat me, but I'm pissed off about it. I don't like it, and I'm getting my belt back. That's exactly what he would say. So we don't get characters like that anymore, though. We don't get badasses. Roman Reigns, at one point, at least he felt, I don't want to say like he's the coolest guy on earth, but he felt cool for a little while, because when you're that guy and when you're really him and when you're just beating everybody and, the way they built up that character, the way they presented it, and the bloodline was decent TV. Like I said, it's decent TV, you know. I mean, in my opinion, I feel like it's almost classic wrestling in the sense that, like, instead of it being about the competition or the love of the sport or Cody, he wants to do it for his dad. It's like it's a soap opera, a simple family drama. That's what it was. It's family drama, in the context of a professional wrestling show. Like, we need more stuff like that. Like, the wrestling comes second to the story. Like in the bloodline, it didn't matter who did what moves in the match. We all knew it didn't even matter what happened in the match. We were just waiting for the cinematic moment. We were just waiting for the 2K showcase moment in that match. That's all we were waiting for. And sometimes that's all we want to see. Right? I don't want to say that's all. Of course, you want to see good matches, but that's only that's only secondary past the story itself and what actually point you're trying to get across. Not just, oh, these guys are doing such good moves, but what actually are we watching here? Are we just watching Cirque du Soleil, or are we watching an actual TV show, which is what I tune in for. Um, and I feel like the Bloodline brought a lot of that, and it brought a lot of interest. I feel like just around the show for the first time in a while, because now it's like, um, even if the rest of the show is hot garbage, at least you still have the bloodline to look forward to. At least you might get one or two decent segments. And that's the thing too. The bloodline, it actually felt like episodic television. Like, you actually had a reason to tune into this episode of Raw that you didn't have for the previous two or three episodes. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, someone's got to make a decision, or someone's got to choose a side, or they're gonna have like a family. I don't know, convention or whatever. I don't know. It would be some shit they would do every single week. And even when Roman wasn't there, there would still be some interesting stuff going on, because you would still have, his group basically, representing him on TV. And now it's like he doesn't have the bloodline. And when he's gone, it feels like the guy is, like I said, it feels like he's just done, doesn't it? It feels like he's just done. There's nothing happening with him. There's nothing going on around him. It just feels like he's done. It feels like he's just bottomed out at this point. Like, am I wrong? Um, no, I'm not really happy with it. I could go on about Roman Reigns. I could go on about others, but I think I've already exhausted my point. So, with that being said, I'm probably gonna go ahead and piece the fuck up out of here, and I will catch you in the next one.